Well, on to this story. The Senzo Meyiwa Murder Trial resumed this week with its fair share of drama in and outside of the courtroom. The existence of a second docket has put a spanner in the works.
Docket 375 says there were no intruders on the night Meyiwa was murdered and that someone in the house ended his life. The Bafana Bafana captain was murdered in October of 2014 in Slindelo. 8 years later, 5 men stand accused of killing him. Slindelo Masikane takes us through this week's proceedings.
It's been 2 months since the trial's last sitting. The adjournment was to allow for Advocate Zandile Mshololo to familiarize herself with the second docket. Docket 375 says those who were in the house when Senzo Meyiwa was shot should be in the dock. Mshololo made a special entry application.
The content of evidence in docket Slindelo case 375/01/2019 ought to have been disclosed to the applicant before he pleaded.
Mshololo withdrew the application when Judge Chifiwa Maumela said he's noted the state's failure to disclose the docket ahead of the trial. Finally, the state's first witness wrapped up his testimony. Sergeant Thabo Mosia collected evidence from the crime scene. The defense introduced hearsay evidence from the late General Johan Ndlovu, whose statement contradicts Mosia's testimony in court.
I did not point any scene or exhibits to him as I was not in charge of the scene.
Scene report yaka ho bontsha hore ke fumane yena and then ka sebetsa ntho tsotlhe tsene ke di etsa crime scene una a shebile.
Okay, I think there is a mistake that happened there because in my
scene report,
he is the one who even signed to confirm that he was with me at the scene of crime and he was the one who was assisting and pointing out to me some of the things that were at the scene of crime.
Mosia admits he couldn't handle the crime scene alone.
What I can say, that crime scene was very much complicated and for me it was a bit heavier, and that's why I ended up deciding to, and I ended up doing the necessary to call people who can help me.
Up next in the hot seat is Sergeant Patrick Mthethwa. He's one of the first police officers who attended to the crime scene. But according to Mthethwa, the house looked as if nothing had happened. During cross-examination, the defense accused Mthethwa of not following protocol and securing the crime scene immediately.
I put it to you, for the first time, when you arrived there at the scene, you never protected the scene. Instead of doing that, you rushed to the hospital.
We arrived for the first time. What were we going to say? What scene are we protecting? What happened?
Mshololo says Mthethwa and his colleagues failed to do their jobs. Witness statements reveal that neighbors accessed the house.
Paragraph 15. Maggie Piri started to pick up the empties from the floor. I asked her why she tidying up before the police could arrive. Do you see that? The police arrived and cordoned off the scene with the tapes. They closed the gate with the tapes and instructed all people to go out of the yard. Did you get that, Sergeant?
Yes, I did.
It's you who cordoned off the crime scene.
Yes, it was.
And it was in your second visit.
Mthethwa says they did notice blood splatters.
Salibona kahle sesibuye kwesithuku ukuthi likhona but akusigazi ukuthi uthiwa nje dots nje egazi ayekho.
With regards to the blood, we saw the blood when we came back for the second time, and it was not to say that it was blood, but some just spots of blood here and there.
The trial resumes on Monday with the state's third witness, someone who was in the house that fateful evening. Slindelo Masikane, Johannesburg.